Imagine for a moment a world without art, without dance, opera, literature, poetry. That world would be a very, very dull place.
Today on the show, we have William Tokarsky, an actor that has appeared in bit parts in a bunch of different films, including Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Anchorman 2, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and TV shows such as The Walking Dead, Lodge 49, Doom Patrol, and The Watchmen. But he is most notable for his work as a regular on Adult Swim, where he has appeared on multiple times on Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell and the infamous short film Too Many Cooks, where he played the deranged killer. William, I want to thank you during these chaotic and pandemic times for taking the time out of your schedule while we're in quarantine to talk to me about your career and some other highlights over your life.
Hi, my pleasure. Right now, there is absolutely nothing going on in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
Originally,
same.
when we
Uh,
talked about this, I was supposed to be in North Carolina. I drove to North Carolina, checked into the hotel,
mhm.
found me a hamburger joint, and the producer called me and says, "We're on hiatus. We shut it down.
Oh,
Spend the
man.
night and go on home."
Yeah, that's got to be a disappointment too, primarily if you're like, planning to make a trip. Well, you're over in Atlanta, correct? So, I mean, North Carolina's not too far, but that's still a
7
heck of a
hours.
drive. Yeah, that's still a heck of
But
a
it's
drive.
okay. It's okay. It's part of the business. It's a last minute business, even when things are good for aspiring folks. If you're an established actor, you call the shots. But for us, nobody, wannabes, for us wannabes, we pretty much have to dance to the tune, whatever it is.
Right. Now, is that a show that you were going to be, just doing extra work on, or was this an audition for more of a speaking gig?
Actually, it was probably the biggest thing I've done so far. I was going to, it's a pilot for a TV show for a major network, and I was going to be a regular character on the network show. I really
Oh,
can't say much more than that. Um, Let me say this: it's based on a very popular show from overseas.
okay.
So I had a resemblance to the character, and I had the ability to be an interesting character. So yeah, this would have, if you want to be a rich person in this business, you do TV, you recur in TV. You want to be famous, you do movies.
Right.
Now, if you really want to be good, you do live theater. But right now I'm out there figuring, I'm gonna make some money off of this one. But if it's meant to be, it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would much rather have money than be famous, that's for sure. But I mean, some people they just want the attention, you know what I mean? Like that's something that they seek after. They want to be in that limelight. And me not so much.
Well,
So,
I want to be infamous, not famous.
that's the old Aleister Crowley line. I like it. And I really hope somewhere along the lines that you get to play a creepy janitor because as soon as you said a new show for Fox, I was like, you know what? I really hope he gets to be a creepy janitor.
Actually, I have played a creepy janitor.
Really?
There is a movie out. It's a very good little movie. I thought it would do great. It's called Tragedy Girls. It's a sort of a slasher movie about
Okay.
two high school girls that capture a serial killer and pick up where he left off. It's mm, got Craig Robinson, Brianna Hildeberg, Alexandria Shripp, and the kid from Hunger Games. What's his name? See, my memory's going. That's why I can't be much of an actor. PETA from Hunger Games
Okay, yeah.
filmed a creepy little short. I mean, it is creepy. We premiered it in South by Southwest. The name of the short is called William with a G. Gwilliam.
Hmm.
At the premiere, we passed out barf bags to the people going in.
Oh man.
Um, but this creepy little short played in Calgary Underground for another movie as an opening short, a movie called Patchwork, with directed by Tyler McIntyre, written by Chris Hill.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Fast forward. Okay, well, they premiered that one in Calgary, and my short played for them. So they saw me. They were there. They answered the questions, the whole deal. Fast forward 2 years, these same two guys are doing another film called Tragedy Girls, and they're filming in Kentucky.
Hmm.
And they're sitting around a production meeting. A casting associate, Rob Pendleton, who I'd worked for in the past as extras, was working up there getting their volunteer extras in Kentucky. He called up my IMDb page on his laptop, turned it around, slid it to them. Now, what they tell me is Chris Hill and Tyler looked at each other and said, "We know him. Book him." It was that creepy. So I'm on an airplane ticket to Kentucky, and I got a week's worth of work on this lovely little film called Tragedy Girls. Now you're going to have to go see it now, because the Easter egg is during my janitorial work, I whistle the theme song from Too Many Cooks.
Oh, that's a nice touch. And that is a deep Easter egg. I mean, you just have like such a particular look. Like I could see you, being in a variety of different types of horror. And well, I mean, as well, horror as a genre has got to be a lot more laid back than like working on like big budget action movies, or working in or on like specific TV shows, because I mean TV shows, for one, like they're like that's a business. Like you're in, you're out, you're on schedule. Like there's no
Time
reshoots.
is money.
Time is money.
Now movies are a little more free to do different things. They can be creative. But what I always tell people is the camera likes me, and that's it. I mean, the camera likes me, so I'm more than happy to do it. And my first role that I actually got was on Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Mhm.
I was working as an extra. I signed up for 6 days. And on the 5th day, I got back to holding and got my phone out. You're supposed to turn your phone off when you're there, but on lunch you can turn it on. And there's a message from the young lady that was casting the extras. Said, "You have a speaking line with Jennifer Lawrence next week if you want it." Of course I want it. And I delivered 6 little words to her. "You want to get him killed." Now, it never made the final cut of the movie. I was probably a terrible actor that had no idea how to keep a mark. I had no idea where to put my eyes.
Hmm.
But and I hadn't even been paid yet. I didn't know what kind of money they were getting. I really liked the treatment. I'm in this little bitty dressing room. I mean, it's a teeny little dressing room. And a production assistant knocks on the door and says, "Mr. Tokarsky." I said, "Yes." He says, "The director, Francis Lawrence, is having a pre-production meeting, a breakfast meeting,
Hmm.
if you'd care to join him, Woody, and Jennifer." Yeah,
Oh,
I like that.
absolutely.
I sat in a corner. I didn't say a word, but I just sucked it all in. I made like $2,400 in 2 days' work. And since then, I've drawn between $5,000 and $6,000 in residuals for that little line that was never used. So I liked it. I wanted, this is neat, man. I mean, I'm retired, so this is a supplemental income. I
Oh
don't have to
yeah.
live on it, but it makes vacations nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives you that, I don't know, it gives you that financial cushion that you can just kind of do what you want. You can have fun. You can actually go out and do certain things, have, more adventures. And then you're driving all over the place, going to auditions and such. So you have to get into a lot of like different zany adventures along the way.
I do. I I enjoy it. It's rewarding and it can be fun. I I auditioned and won a role in Zombieland 2 Double Tap.
Hmm.
My last line of dialogue was hold my beer. I mean, that's perfect for
Yeah.
me. They rewrote the script and took the part out completely. So I can fight and make them pay me for that. But my agent says, "Well, we'll deal with it." Talk to the casting director. She said, "I'll get you the next thing that opens up." And I booked a day's work with Jon Stewart on his new movie coming out, Irresistible.
Oh, wow.
And working with Jon Stewart was fantastic. I enjoyed that. Steve Carell is starring in this along with some lovely young ladies. But yeah, so it's like, okay, just flow with it, go with it, have fun with it. It's like this weekend I drove up to Wilmington, North Carolina
Hmm.
for an actual role in a regular role in a TV show pilot that was probably going to be picked up by Fox. And it was a great character for me because it wasn't heavy on dialogue. It was just, I'm going to be in a sort of an antagonist to some people,
Right.
a role that I can probably do. My wife says I got a lot of experience at it, but and this virus thing just put it all to a halt. So it's like, oh, hey man, so turn around, come back, and get to do a podcast.
Yeah.
So I will continue.
So, what was it like working with Jon Stewart and Steve Carell? Did you do any specific scenes with them?
Yes, I didn't have to act in this one. If you follow me at all, I was a Democratic campaign worker. And if anybody goes to my Facebook page, they will find out very quickly that I am a yellow dog liberal Democrat. You know what a yellow dog
Hmm.
Democrat is, don't you?
What's that?
That's a man that will vote for a yellow dog before he'd vote for a Republican. But yeah,
Oh, that's well. I mean, that's good to know because I mean, I don't know. I feel like this election in particular, everyone's got skin in this game now. Nobody on the sidelines. Everyone's got to get active. Everyone's got to at least go out and vote. And I mean, I'm here in Illinois, so one of the things that really bothered me is I went out and voted Tuesday for a primary, and our governor decided to keep the polls open, and just voter turnout was so low. It was such a shame.
my wife is a poll worker, so we voted early, and then they went ahead and rescheduled the primary election. So I'm covered. I'm good shape. But like I say, I'm obvious in what I am. I'm not the typical boomer,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I like this industry.
you're the boomer that stuck to his guns and his ideals, didn't sell them out in the '80s.
I don't. Yes, I will agree with you. I will agree with you. Um, but at any rate, what questions do you have for me?
Yeah, we're getting off topic here, and I don't know. I'm not the person you want to get ranting on politics, because I will talk your ear off. But yeah, I don't know. Before we kind of got into your career, just wanted to kind of touch on your background and basically what made you want to get into acting. You had talked about. I don't know, just the the financial means, obviously giving you a little bit of extra cushion, as well as some of the adventures. But I mean, is there any sort of real expressive creativity that you want to get out as you portray these roles?
I like to be noticed. I believe my whole personally now I want to steal a scene. I don't care what it is. I'd like to steal it. I want to be I want to be in the trailer that for whatever movie it is, where that little button on the end of a scene that you see in the end of the trailer.
Hmm.
When I did Jumanji, that's what happened to me. I was in the trailer, and it was a cute little thing, and like 13 million people looked at that trailer. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's. there's more money to be made in being an invisible character actor, the guy that's standing at the bus stop and doesn't attract attention to himself and says, "Yeah, that building burnt down 2 years ago," and move on. You make 1,000 a day, and do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd much rather be the character that sticks a orange Slurpee under the bus's front tire and squirts everybody waiting at the bus stop and then run. So, yeah, it's I've never really wanted to do voiceover because you're invisible. Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and well, I mean, yeah, you have such a particular voice. I mean, you'd be great for voiceover work.
I have been told that. I'm lobbying hard to do a cartoon voice on Adult Swim. I don't want to make any funny voices. I just want to use my own voice.
Right, right.
So maybe that'll happen.
Well, I mean, I was actually a few weeks ago. We had Carrie Means, voice of Frylock, on the show, and he was telling me that. I mean, 9 out of 10 times you're just going to be using your own voice. So you just have to be comfortable with that, regular voice that you have, and basically how you can, kind of fluctuate that. I think it would be similar to how, well, I mean, as an extra, you really, without having lines, you really have to learn how to use your face and your body to emote. And
Yep.
I feel voiceover is kind of a similar thing, but you're just doing it with the subtleties of your voice.
And you get to read it too. You don't have to commit it to memory.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm a child. I'm a child that grew it up in the '60s, so my memory is shot.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I'll walk into a room most of the time and forget what I go in there for.
It gets worse as you get older. I am 72 years old. So yeah, it'll happen.
So let me ask you, as when you were, I don't know, I mean, even I don't even want to say when you were growing up, even now, like when you kind of look at like actors, is there any certain actors that like you like to associate yourself with to kind of give you inspiration?
Jack Black and Jack Nicholson.
I can see that because you have both the eyes and, I mean, I don't know, just looking at your Facebook page, you have a lot of energy, so you definitely give off a Jack Black vibe as well.
I enjoyed working with him. He's probably the most fun guy I have ever had to work with in a scene.
Yeah.
Just I mean, he just he's like a kid on cocaine, crack cocaine, where he's got to be high level energy and entertain people around him. My Adult Swim show, the Devil Gary, who's played by Henry Zombrowski,
Mhm.
he's basically his twin. He just hasn't had the exposure yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like associating with people that enjoy that and don't have any problem deviating from the script. And after the first take or two, just go ahead and have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of like, I don't know, allow the actors to have that freedom to make that role their own, whether it's, ad-libbing a little bit, whether it's, chewing up the scenery some until you can find that like nice medium of where you want to be. I mean, a lot of it's just kind of going with the flow and making it your own.
Yes, yes, being you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've been doing a lot of comic book stuff lately, Watchmen, Walking Dead, as well as Doom Patrol. So have you always been a fan of comics?
Um, Not the graphic novels is what you're talking about.
Both graphic novels and even when you were a kid, the old
Yeah, I did the
monthly
comic books
issues.
as a kid.
Yeah,
No doubt about that. I did that. But I bought, someone bought me a graphic novel one time, and I've got to the point where it's like, I'm not the person that reads them. I like to be a part of them because you basically get to emote a lot.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
In other words, it's you're not there's it's generally not high drama. It's almost some of them are almost campy, where I really like being campy, doing you know Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's kind of the whole aesthetic of comics as well, is that everything is, kind of blown out of proportion to a point. Like people expect that.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
Yes.
when you're telling a story visually, and primarily when you're adapting something that has a tradition of visual storytelling attached to it. I mean, even as, an extra, it kind of gives you a little bit of more play to kind of, build out or fill out the scene as you think it should be filled out.
That is correct. My Doom Patrol was actually an extra role. I and I'm on screen for a great deal of time, but I can do that same exact thing. The Lodge 49 TV show,
Mm-hmm.
that was a principal role, and I basically do the same. I just laughed and smoked a cigar. So it's like a lot has to do with who likes your look and wants to ensure that you'll be there versus we're going to fill this and hopefully get a nice fella for it out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But so there's not a whole lot difference between a lot of the extra things I do and a lot of the uh, uh, principal roles that I do. I um, I have no problem in doing SAG ultra low or doing um, occasional extra work, especially if I think I can catch the director's eye and get a bump. There's a lovely um, pilot coming out for HBO called DMZ. Have you heard about it?
I have not. Tell us a little bit about the project.
Basically, it's a story of a orange-skinned politician that when he gets defeated, he no longer he doesn't want to give up his office, and his supporters are generally very well armed, and they start another civil war
Mm-hmm.
between basically the liberals and the conservatives, and you end up with a demilitarized zone between the two in the civil war. And I'm sure you understand what there's no government, and it's life within that zone.
Okay.
And that's a movie that, or a TV movie, HBO. I'll probably turn it into a series if it works. That I went and worked as an extra on one day, and the director walked by, and I give her the eye and said some dialogue to her, and she said, "Give that man a line." So yeah, I do that. I try to do that whenever I can.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man, please don't tell me they had you as a red hat in that one.
No, no. I was I'm officially listed as a vendor.
Okay, okay.
I was
So
a vendor in Jumanji, so I'm probably getting typecast.
I mean, I could see that, yeah, because I remember I saw you in the marketplace scene. You were selling bread, right?
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, you've worked on some other big films, with Catching Fire, Anchorman. What was it like working with Will Ferrell?
Hey, I enjoyed that immensely. Actually, the director, his name escapes me right now, but he had it wired into the cab to where after the first take or two, now he's working with the actors in the back
Hmm.
and getting them to ad lib and make and all I could do to keep from cracking up. It was so funny because they are naturally funny. But Will is a nice guy, and I enjoyed working with him. Although he probably doesn't remember me, but it's I was just an extra on the role. But it's see now this all goes back to my Too Many Cooks thing. The one of the things that made Too Many Cooks take off was you didn't notice me till I killed the first person uh, 10 minutes into the show,
Hmm.
but actually I'm really there in the first 20
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, yeah. You're in the background of all those
And
scenes. It's and I mean, I want to say it was BuzzFeed recently had an article where it like counted down all the times that you were there
yes,
and they missed you.
yes. So now I will have people looking for me in the background of
Yeah,
different
yeah.
films and movies, sort of like a Where's Waldo. So I end up with a faithful following. So every once in a while, one of these faithful followers does some casting on a movie or a TV show, and you know, let's help the old guy out.
Yeah, yeah, gaining that notoriety. And then also, I mean, it's almost as if you're becoming your own Easter egg in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, I actually try to do that. I actually try to do that. Yeah, I'm just blessed. I've been extremely lucky because I mean I don't have any. Actually, the only talent I have is I attract talented filmmakers.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You also have like a certain way of using your eyes in it too, because I mean, you know, you I think it was through chat you were saying how you're not much of an actor, but I mean, you're one of the nicest guys that I've had a chance of chatting with, and in Too Many Cooks, you have a way of just coming off as menacing, even in the very beginning when you're just hanging out in the background with just doing the most subtle things, whether it's your eyes or whether it's just like the placement of your body and how it's like adjacent to everything that's going on. I mean, it's subtle, but you have a way of doing it.
And I'm just playing me.
Yeah.
So that's why my performances are memorable.
I can definitely see why you like that Jack Nicholson vibe then, because
Yes,
I don't know. I think a lot of his roles, like he was just playing different facets of himself, and I
exactly.
think he knew himself so well that like he knew how to bring out those different emotions, which is, I mean, it's a different kind of acting. It's more like an introspection, you know.
Hmm. Yes. Like I say, this thing that I had for Fox, I think it's perfect for me because it's just the guy in the background. It's and I had some ideas to work into the character, but
Hmm.
we'll see, we'll see.
So,
I'm sure you'll see it if it comes to fruition.
oh yeah. And well, I mean, I'll always be looking for you if you're going to be in the background somewhere. Primarily, if it's one of those roles that helps you get more mainstream notoriety as well. Because I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of the programming that Fox does. They're always hit or miss. I really like a lot of the programming that FX is putting out these days.
Oh yes, I agree with you there. Uh, and my idea is, I have learned that it's not who you know that gets you booked; it's who knows you.
Hmm.
So I try to get into that position where people know me or know of me. Yeah.
So, just kind of going back, then, how did you originally get involved with Adult Swim?
I have a high forehead. They needed people that they could glue horns on.
Okay.
That's it. And I just I'm a bullshitter. So I mean, I cast for Kelly, the guy that does that with Dave Willis, and that was no money project. I mean, it was like 6 episodes on season one, and in fact, I'm the first demon you see, which is really nice.
Hmm.
And I made friends with them, and then when Too Many Cooks took off, I all of a sudden they're giving me lines on your pretty face,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
some nice little spots. I'm not star of the show. Henry and Matt Servito is a great actor. The man
Hmm.
that plays the devil, he is terrific, and he's taught me a lot. But yeah, I'm just there to provide color, I guess you'd call it,
Yeah.
like a color commentator on a football game.
So how long did you have to sit in the makeup chair for your pretty face?
Realistically, if I did it all by myself, I would probably be there 45 minutes to an hour. But they run an assembly line. A gentleman by the name of Shane Morton and his partner Chris Brown.
Hmm.
There's a lot of demons, including the stars of the show. So they sort of like run an assembly line where they run you through and you get painted and then you move on to the next associate. Well, actually get your horns on first and then you get painted and then you get your shirt on and so on and so forth. So it's a well-oiled machine. So typically I'm probably there 45 minutes, but a lot of the time I'm just social interacting
Yeah.
or hitting crafty with the two.
So I don't know, what's the environment like working at Adult Swim? It seems like they give their creative teams a lot of leeway to kind of have free reign to do what they want to make things more unique.
You are 100% accurate. Um, the only thing they do is they will record multiple versions to see what they can get past the censor.
Okay.
So so yeah, they have a lot of freedom to do. Um, um, my memory's gone. I can't remember his name now. The executive vice president. We did season 1 of Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, 6 episodes, and it sat for a while before they decided to greenlight it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they greenlighted it, the executive vice president who runs Adult Swim has a penthouse on top of an old hotel kind of thing, and they got me and one of the producers to dress in a diaper with a pin. I show up at these guys' door with my long beard and a shepherd's crook, and I knock at the door, and my line is, "I am Baby New Year from 2013, and my time is up." And so is season 1 of Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Then the other producer knocks me over and stands there. He's baby looking, really baby looking. And he says, "And I'm Baby New Year 2014," and hands Mike Laszlo, the vice president, 6 episodes written in a script. So yeah, they're crazy. Lots of fun.
Oh, well, I mean, that's got to build like such a great sense of community and culture there. You know what I mean? Like if, like, cause like if you're willing to do that for someone dressed like a baby, I mean, it just, I don't know, it's just amazing what they're willing to do for you and how they're willing to, kind of let you be yourself.
They're a family almost. Although, I sadly, I think all good things come to an end. And what I'm seeing is AT&T
Mm-hmm.
bought Warner. Warner owns Turner. Turner owns Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network owns Adult Swim.
Right.
AT&T also owns HBO. So on a parallel level, HBO says, "I'm the big boy and I'm going to control all live TV." So I think what we're going to see is Adult Swim cornered down into more exclusively on animated stuff.
Hmm.
And HBO may take off on more risky, like they did the HBO's Watchmen and a few other things. That's where I think it's going, but it's just my opinion, hanging around the edge and watching.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like that would definitely be both a good and a bad thing because HBO, for the powerhouse that they are, their shows are top notch. They have a great creative team,
Oh, yes, they are.
and like Adult Swim, they allow their writers, their actors, their directors to kind of do their own thing. Primarily with like a show like Watchmen, right? They could
Yes.
have made that show just another cookie cutter, superhero show, something that would have definitely, had a lot of like merch sales, but they decided to take it in a very different, very I don't necessarily want to say political direction though. They like the politics of that show was done so well. Did you get a chance to watch
Yes.
the season?
Yes, I was in it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Some actors don't like to, sit down and watch all the stuff that they're in.
No, I actually, that's what I do watch. I make sure I watch everything that I'm in. The the HBO show filmed right here, 5 miles from my house,
Hmm.
in the episode where they had the support group meeting.
Okay.
So I knew who was casting the extras, and they looked for a mature couple. So I says, "Hey, Jude, you want my wife?" I says, "You want to go work with Tim Blake Nelson and Paula Malcolmson?" She says, "Sure." So we were part of that support group meeting. Um, and I get there, and they tell us at the end. You ever been to an AA meeting? You have a serenity prayer that you all hold hands and
Hmm.
say at the end. They says, "You guys are going to recite this prayer out loud." And I look, and there's 4 other day players, actors in Atlanta I know, that they're doing the same thing I'm doing as an extra. So I go ask the assistant director. I says, "Are we getting paid for this?" And they said, "No, they're not going to pay." I says, "Oh, okay." So we did it, and we recited their little prayer. It was, "We know this is not the only dimension there is, but it's the dimension we choose to live in, and we will not live in fear."
Hmm.
I'm a union man, long SAG-AFTRA. I called, and they says, "Yeah, you got a case." I found me, my wife, and the two other young extras who are best friends with me now, all got paid scale for that day.
Good.
Took about 6 months. The reason I know about HBO having control, when I talked to the attorneys or the union people that handled it in Miami, they're telling me these HBO lawyers are the same people that handled a case they had with Adult Swim with a show called Tropical Cocktails, which I worked the pilot on, but
Okay.
I didn't work the series. I got killed in the pilot. But at any rate, so yeah, that's how I put together the HBO Adult Swim control thing. But anyway, it's a great little scene. I enjoyed it. You can't hardly see me. If you know anything about shooting, they dirtied the shot with me where they're behind my ear and I'm the profile that they're looking at. But
Okay.
it
Okay.
was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought the show was terrific, and I'm so pissed that there's not a season two. I wanted to see a season two. I
Yeah.
wanted to see her, spoiler alert, walk on water.
Yeah, I was. I don't. You know what? I'm holding off hope that there's going to be a season two, just because HBO tends to take like 2 to 3 years off between seasons sometimes. So I'm hoping that they just make it seem like it's going to be, done for a year and a half later. They end up greenlighting it, for a 3 year return,
Good
because
plan.
I don't know. That's another thing I do like about HBO is they take the time to develop their programming correctly, primarily in the writing stages. Um,
Yes.
you got to. I don't know. I feel like on a lot of TV shows, and mind you, we are living in a golden age of TV. There's so much content out there these days. But yeah, just with so much like reality programming and such, writing oftentimes is put second best, and I always think that's a shame.
I understand. But I have had, I've always been impressed working on any HBO project.
Yeah.
I've always been impressed. DMZ was an HBO project. The Demilitarized Zone. Yeah.
And now does that project have a release date yet, or is it still in post production?
I believe it's going to release later this year with the pilot. Now, whether they decide to turn it into a limited series, I don't know. Because it's got a lot of room to expand. The storyline can just go anywhere,
Oh yeah, yeah.
sort of like, yeah. So, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of it will depend upon the numbers, what they get back as far as viewers go.
Well, that and I don't know. Like, I think that has a potential of being something that would, not only take off as a pilot, but could also lead to a show as well. Because I mean, just in today's political environment, primarily releasing it as an election year, you can get a lot of passionate people from both sides of the aisle to kind of sit down and watch that show. But that also gives you folks at the show, if it does take off, the opportunity to kind of mend those two sides, to try and find a middle ground and try and reestablish collective values. Because I feel personally that's the biggest problem with the left and the right, is that we can no longer have a middle ground of just basic ideal humanity that we can associate to anymore. And when political differences become moral differences, that's when some of the biggest divisions become apparent.
You are 100% correct, and I believe this was all planned by Putin.
I mean, with what was it, 91 separate connections. I mean, even though they determined that the Trump campaign was not in direct
Nope, I agree with you.
Even though they couldn't prove it, I still think that there were aspects, even if he was too oblivious to the fact that, Flynn, Stone, these guys had these contacts. Even if he's oblivious to it, it really just kind of shows you his leadership style not being in the know. And that is not something you really want in a commander in chief.
I will have to agree with you there, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But go ahead.
Yeah. We'll go, we'll actually kind of go back to Adult Swim, just because we were actually talking about some of the things that make Adult Swim so unique. One of the things that I personally feel makes Adult Swim such a cultural powerhouse is its ability to incorporate all different kinds of art, whether it's animation, live action,
Yes.
short films, even a lot of the music that they feature, and their festivals and their live events too. I mean, they really know how to build their brand in a way that is both inspiring to a lot of the fan base, but also, I mean, makes people want to be more creative.
And yes, their live events are the faithful. The faithful go to their live events. I want to be part of one, but they haven't tapped me on the shoulder yet. They did a Comic Con or Dragon Con here in Atlanta,
Hmm.
and they had a panel, and they had all the directors and writers and producers on the panel, and they did not invite me, and I was brokenhearted. So this was like 2016, I believe.
Hmm.
So I just dressed in my Too Many Cooks outfit and cosplayed as the Too Many Cooks killer. I invited, well, at the time she was 21 years old, my 20-year-old granddaughter. I said, "You want to go to con this weekend? We'll go down there on Saturday for the Adult Swim panel." She said, "Yeah." So we went down there and we toured. And what was fun, I'd be standing in the lines and I would hear someone, "Boy, he looks just like that actor." And then every once in a while, someone would figure it out, and I'd go do a selfie with them, and then would disappear. But my purpose was, is you've been to cons, they had a panel. They had to panel them all sitting up on stage. So, and one of the deals was, is they're going to see an unseen episode of Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. So when the lights go down, I work my way down to the front. There's no security. And I've got my little plastic machete. And when the lights come back up, I storm the stage behind them, sitting on chairs. And everybody's cracking up. They don't know why. And then they see me. So then I do a Monty Hall with a machete over each producer one at a time to see who had the most applause. And then when I got to Henry, I was able to convince him that I was going to kill him with a machete and take his place, and that's what I did. So then, when that was all done and over, they got back to normal. There's no chair for me to sit, so I'm standing in the background, and they're still up there in their chairs. And you know how on a con they open it up for questions, and people come up to a microphone. And the first question they asked Casper Kelly was, "Where do you get your inspiration?" And I'm standing there animated, holding on to what looks like a joint, going, and the whole house cracks up. And they don't know why it's so funny. And then when they turn around, I've got my angel pose like I'm doing nothing at all. So I thought, well, I either did real good or real bad. But they brought me back the next year, so I guess I did real good.
I'm surprised you haven't hit up the con circuit as much, even just like, signing autographs and stuff, because, I mean, you're a character, man. People know who you are. You definitely move some merchandise.
There is a con in southern Georgia at Jekyll Island in December.
Oh.
And I have gone and worked it because my wife and I like to go to Jekyll Island.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, the con, I could go get an agent and work the cons, but I mean, it's not what I want to do. I will do it to go promo a movie, or
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not where I'm at. I imagine if it became lucrative enough, I could be convinced. But it's time away from home, and that sort of. But this one's perfect because it's right down where we live, or not too far from where we live. It's on the ocean, and they put us up in a nice hotel, and I sell a few headshots.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I don't know. Before
But
I guess we should get into Too Many Cooks, as it is the most notorious thing you are known for.
aha,
For those who don't know, Too Many Cooks opens off as like a standard '80s sitcom like intro, like Full House, Different Strokes, Family Matters. But it doesn't stop. The jingle just keeps on going for what seems like an eternity, as the visuals mutate, resembling everything from like a cop show to G.I. Joe, Battlestar Galactica, out there sci-fi. But as it grows more into the realm of absurdity, you appear as a serial killer to kill off all the different characters, as the fourth wall is just broken over and over again. The characters eventually knowing they're trapped with a never-ending intro song loop. It is a short film that I would describe it as postmodern and surrealistic dark comedy that uses nostalgia to create a feeling of unease, as well as I don't know, kind of creates that unease out of the comforting aesthetic of the family comedy as they're kind of brutally murdered off. I mean, I feel that Casper Kelly had to put a lot of thought into this because there's just so much going on. So, is there any I don't know, any like themes or anything that was kind of discussed as you guys or while you were kind of planning out the project?
all right. Basically, this was made on a shoestring budget. I think the whole thing was made for less than $50,000. It was a time slot for the infomercials, which are notoriously low budget.
Mm-hmm.
And he really didn't have a script. What he would do is he would tell us exactly what he wanted us to do and show us the original program that we were parodying on his laptop, and then we tried to emulate what was going on. It was a non-union shoot. We shot it in 3 days.
Hmm.
I worked all 3 days, and the other 69 people rotated in and out. Um, no one was sure what we were doing. I was not sure what we were doing, but about halfway through, I told him, I says, this thing will either die on the 4 a.m. time slot or it'll go viral. Nothing in between. But it amazed me how fast it went viral. It played uh, the week before Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at the 4 a.m. time slot. Someone bootlegged it up onto YouTube. By Monday morning, when they opened the offices as Adult Swim, it had 5 million views and they didn't know what to do with it. My son was in the Coast Guard in Northern California at the time. Someone shared it with him without any idea of the connection between, it's just unbelievable. It
Yeah.
went crazy.
Well, I mean, even at this point, like, years later, I mean, it's over 18 million views, and it's like, it's just something that I think captivates people at a psychological level because, like, a lot of the folks that are fans of it, they haven't just watched it one time. Like, they'll watch it multiple times, and every time they watch it, they'll get something new out of it, right? I mean, you look on YouTube, not only is that video, got 18 million views, but you start looking at like the interpretation videos of people analyzing
Mhm.
it, they've got a couple 100,000 views. And you look at like the reaction videos, they like, there's something innate about it that kind of like hits at people's cores, because even if they just watch it one time, like they're going to remember parts of that for years later. I mean, it is it's part of popular culture now. Like it belongs to the ages at this point.
It's taught in film school. I've had film students. Here's the fun thing for me. Now I work a lot of sets. I'll get on a set. Sometimes it's principal, sometimes as an extra. I'm tending more towards principal these days.
Mhm.
But every set I'm on, there is at least one person that wants to do a selfie with me. Um, when I was on Jumanji,
Mhm.
I'm sitting in on-set holding with Jack Black, Karen Gilliam, the Dwayne Johnson, and Kevin were back in there with their entourage. We're sitting in there, and the story's got some high school kids in it. And some little high school kid come in, playing a high school kid, looked at me and says, "Too many cooks." Jack Black jumped up and said, "You son of a bitch." He says, "I knew you from somewhere." He come over, took a selfie with me, put it on his pages. It's got about 15,000 likes. So yeah. Um, I was working on a TV show in Savannah called Florida Girls, and I had an off day. So the woman was casting a great little series called The Act. And so I went to go play on The Act in a con scene, just as a pedestrian. I knew the woman who was casting it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they pulled me out of line and said, "Excuse me, sir, I would like you to stand over here and be security. And oh, by the way, can I have a selfie with you?" It was Adam Arkin, the director. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
that
like
is funny.
sometimes it's a PA. Suicide Squad, David Mashnell, nuts. Too many cooks. I mean, he wanted to know all about it. So yeah, it's strange. It's a phenomenon.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the thing I think that works so well about Too Many Cooks is the way it subverts those feelings of nostalgia. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know. I come from a psychology background, so just to kind of clarify what I'm saying here, folks who may be listening, psychologically, nostalgia works as respiratory for happy feelings, which are tied to your identity, self-esteem, as well as like social connectivity. We tend to associate these feelings symbolically a lot of the times with the media that we have growing up, which is why if you watch something from your childhood, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, right? Um,
Yes.
but this is what I think makes Too Many Cooks so potent. And retrospectively, what are your thoughts on the idea of how it subverts nostalgia to kind of create a surrealistic horror?
I have to agree with you, but I'm going to also add that song is an earworm
Oh
that just
yeah.
once it doesn't go away. I'm going to have it all night in my head after talking to you. Yeah. And the song wasn't there when we filmed it. So yeah, it was like, and I've met the writers then and the performers for it, but yeah, it's just and it's just a combination of it struck lightning.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, when you guys were filming, like, did you get to have any input on your character? Maybe how you wanted to portray the killer, like costume choices, stuff like that.
Everybody was an extra. No one was really hired as a principal actor, including myself. I
Okay.
made like 200 a day, which was good money as an extra.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we tend to tell me what you want, and I'll do it. And take direction. There's very little personal input. And like I tell people, I've been married 50 years. I've learned how to take direction. So I think that helps with me. Now, if you're a real Too Many Cooks fan, if you notice when I kill the tennis player, my beard is gray.
Hmm.
That was 6 months after I filmed the first 3 days. We did pickup shot where I killed the tennis player and I drugged the black girl from behind the door window.
Hmm.
Those were pickup shots, fill time. So they never paid me for that. Again, it wasn't released. Nobody knew it was going to be successful. So I'm on the second season, or yeah, second season of Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. And the producer Alex Orr comes over and says, "Hey, we never paid you for that extra day, that pickup day." I said, "No, you didn't, Alex." He says, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I have a release here I would like you to sign." I says, "Alex, I'll be happy to sign that release, no problem at all, because they were good to me."
Yeah.
And he says, "What do we pay you for that? $350 a day?" I says, "No, Alex, you paid me 200 a day. and I'll take $350 for that pickup day. And he wrote me out a check for $350 as fast as he could. But yeah, I mean, I have an action figure from that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Didn't they do like one of those little Funko Pops of you yet for that one?
Yeah, it's a little. They had 18 different characters on a blind box, and they're all either puppets or cartoon characters. Except, so I'm the real one, and I'm the one that's in demand, where there's only like one in every 64,
Right.
versus the other ones have higher numbers. So I mean, I don't. Kid Robots sold them. I don't believe they're selling them new right now, but they are a hot item on eBay right now.
Now, the one thing I will definitely kind of bring up is that I always thought it was interesting, just kind of coming from like that symbolic perspective on Too Many Cooks. So the costuming in the short, I find interesting because it has you wearing a classic Cosby sweater almost. I
Yes.
Because the sweater, I mean, it's kind of symbolic with that like kind of nurturing, fathering figure of Cosby as he tried to portray himself. But yours is
Yep.
kind of run down, faded. I think it's interesting that as the killer, you're wearing that because it's almost as if like you're subverting just the idea of like the father himself. Because at the very end, you end up replacing the father in that role, like sitting on the couch.
Correct.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, was that something that was deliberate, or was that just kind of developed as it did?
I will tell you this much: Casper put a lot into that sweater as far as finding what he decided he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is there is a cardboard box floating out in the netherworld with the original sweater and the original machete. Nobody can find it.
Really?
So yeah, nobody can find it. You do know we made a sequel, right?
Of Too Many Cooks?
Yes.
No, I did not see that one. Which one is it?
Well,
Was
you're
that
not going
a
to be able to see it. It was a live stage show.
really?
About half of the people in Too Many Cooks were improvers from an improv troupe here in town called Dad's Garage.
Okay.
So Dad's Garage was very connected into that. A lot of their players were there, and they convinced Casper Kelly to do a 10-minute skit for a fundraiser they had called Too Many Cooks the Musical. So what we did a 10-minute skit, basically with a theater blank, if you know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about,
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
black wall, and the mother and the father are sitting in the front, and they sing a song about sending everybody off. And so everyone's marching around behind and through from the troupe, and they're changing costumes to be different characters every time, including Coat is he's hanging on the wall. And when they get done with their Lamont, I guess it is, he takes the coat and put it on and standing there where the coat rack was, and they go to black. Then they do a Lion King with Smarf held up high, where they're basically sacrificing people to Smarf. Um, and then the final was like a chorus line where they were all doing the high kick dancing,
Mm-hmm.
and I appear and I kill them one at a time, including the mother. I take her head in a paper in a bag. I severed her head, and I've got her head, and I come up behind the father who's singing the theme song for Too Many Cooks, and I come in behind him and I slay him with the machete. He falls down. I look at the machete, drop it, and I pick up his microphone and I go to sing. And just like when they had the credits, everything went crazy, and the lights and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sound. And that was it. 10 minutes skip.
oh man,
So
please.
we did a musical, and there is some film of it. What we did was there is a little stage called Seven Stages downtown Atlanta in Little Five Points, where we did two dress rehearsals as part of their shows on Thursday and Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and then We did the big show at the Fox, the fabulous Fox Theater in Atlanta. So Elvis and I have both been center stage in the Fox.
Man, that's a heck of a legacy to live up to.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that like I kind of love about that project is that like, just because that was where their original home base was, like Adult Swim is still very active in like the Atlanta art scene.
It is.
Bringing in different kinds of talent. Bringing in people who wouldn't normally, I don't know, be considered for like TV, that sort of thing.
You are correct. And what they're where they're really starting to grow is online. They've got a lot of programming that is strictly online, or you go online and look at clips or shows in the past. I've done one of the creators with Too Many Cooks has a program called As Seen on Adult, where it's sort of like a shopping network thing where they basically sell ridiculous stuff in ridiculously low quantities that become collector's items. And I seem to every year for Christmas, I'll get a Christmas gift from them that's one of these unique. Like I had a toolbox, Adult Swim toolbox from them one year, and then a collector's plate with all the characters one year. This year I got some nice little luggage, like bags, with all the Adult Swim collector's items.
Yeah.
Someday my grandson may have fun with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, and then I don't know. That's also something like I don't know that could become a family heirloom in that point as well. You know what I mean? Something that's
It
passed
could
on
well be.
because I mean, your great grandchildren will be able to kind of look back at Too Many Cooks because YouTube will more than definitely still be around, and that will still be
I
there
believe
as part of the a part of the zeitgeist, as it were.
one of my original thoughts and desires when I started just doing extra work is I want to be on a Academy Award winning movie, like let's say The Godfather.
Yeah.
Right before The Godfather gets shot, he's getting fruit from a fruit vendor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that fruit vendor that's going to live forever in another movie.
Yeah.
Well, be careful for what you wish for because now when Too Many Cooks is on, my great grandson Elliot, by the way, that's going to be his name. He's doing May. Will be able to say, "You see that maniacal killer up there? That's my grandfather, great grandfather."
Well, I mean, you're gaining such notoriety that it would, and one, you're getting such notoriety. Two, you have such a unique look that I mean, I would not doubt that a year or two down the line, you keep at the speed you're going, you could start getting requests to be visible on some big projects.
The creepy character in the background, yeah, sure.
So let's I don't know. Let's make it hypothetical here. So if you could work with any particular director in Hollywood on like this, Oscar-winning film you'd want to do, who'd you want to pick?
Wow, that's a tough one. I've seen some good ones. Uh, that's tough. That's hard. That's the name that comes to mind right now is the woman that did Selva, Ava DuVernay.
Uh huh.
She's doing DMZ right now.
Okay.
She's very detail oriented and she's got a keen eye. Yeah, but I the vision is always that of the director. So I'm just the putty that they play with. I would love to do a major film for Cass for Kelly. I would, you know, that would be ideal to do a real film for him. After doing Too Many Cooks for him.
Yeah.
Uh, if you've watched Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, there's a character called VC, an older man with no hair. He was the other one that was in consideration for the killer and cooks. So VC became one of the cooks in Too Many Cooks.
Yeah.
One of the chefs, I should say. But at any rate, so Casper chose me. We just did a little tape, and they sat around and looked, and I had no idea what we were getting into. But I would be happy to go work for him at any time because he would be able to utilize whatever uniqueness I possess. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, he seems like, well, I mean, he definitely knows how to bring out your strengths as an actor. You know what I mean? Because even when you're not doing much, he knows how to position you in a way that it's going to maximize what you're doing.
I think that's a good statement. Yeah.
So, so has he? Well, I mean, is he still, work closely with Adult Swim, or has he like kind of veered off and started doing other projects?
He is not employed by Adult Swim now. He's basically a freelancer. Used to be on salary with Adult Swim. Now he's freelancing. I hear, well, he's done some music videos and he's did that Final Deployment,
Hmm.
which was somewhat successful. And I think, yeah. And I hear that he's working or planning on doing a feature film, but I don't know what. I haven't seen him in a while,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he seems like
but
one of
I'm his if
those.
he wants me.
He seems like one of those directors that like he would do very well in the indie market because he obviously knows how to make something that has a wide appeal.
Yep,
But with particular working in that indie scene, like it'll still give him the creativity to kind of do what he wants to do and have his own vision as opposed to having a producer breathing down his neck.
I've seen that. I
And
have seen that.
And well, I guess that's one of the other interpretations of Too Many Cooks is that some interpretations see it as kind of like a struggle between the character and the the creator and the producers of a show. The radical different changes as the show morphs and how it takes on different like creative influences. I mean, it just kind of goes back to the name, right? Too many cooks. Too many cooks in the kitchen will ruin the broth. So was there? I mean, was that ever discussed? That kind of take on it.
And like I said earlier, there was very little discussion, although anyone could make a suggestion at any time. That was, I guess a way to put it is we started, and if you had an idea, you brought it up and it was listened to.
Yeah.
But as far as the creative conference, no, that didn't happen. It might have happened with Nick and the editor. They were on site to help figure out how they'd be able to handle it in post.
Okay.
So there was a lot of collaboration there, but again, it was on a very tight budget. All of the special effects were almost done as a favor. The cartoon, the GI Joe cartoon, that was all on your lunchtime kind of deal. That
Yeah.
but Casper's a friendly guy. The people want to do for him.
Well, you had said earlier that he would basically show you the TV shows, and then you guys would kind of reenact what you were seeing. What certain shows did he
Correct.
have you guys want to do?
I do not remember, to be honest with you. I specifically remember like the girl drowning, as far as showing me footage from another show of what he wanted me to emulate.
Hmm.
But that we were, there was very little downtime. I mean, we were just shitting and getting. There were like 14-hour days. And the day that I ate the body parts,
Hmm.
we had barbecue that day for lunch.
Oh, so did you? So did they incorporate like the food in that into it? Because I know
Yep,
that which horror film was it? They actually used barbecue or a really really bright red barbecue sauce and pulled pork is like the insides of whichever the body this was. And, they were like
that's what
zombies
we
doing
did.
zombie things.
That's what we did.
So when you were well, I mean, this isn't your first run with zombies. So you were on all of season 3 of The Walking Dead, correct?
Yes,
So
yes.
so how many different
Uh,
roles did you get to play over the course of a season, or did you just have like kind of one background character you primarily stuck to?
I was one character. I was a guard for the governor in season 3,
Okay.
and the season. Um, they filmed not too far from my house in the same county where I live. And I found out very quickly that if they see too much of you on The Walking Dead, they're not going to bring you back. They're going to use someone else. So I would go work. I worked like 9 episodes, and I would go deep. I'd be the guy walking on the bus deep, and those sort of things. And I made friends on set.
Hmm.
So then when we had the season finale, this is a good one. The season finale for season 3 was filmed as a 2-hour season finale. We stormed the prison. I was smart enough to have a bandana around my face when they threw the tear gas, and I worked my way through the tombs to a T passageway, and I looked through, and there's Rick with his back to me, stringing barbed wire across the passageway. I leaned back. Suddenly, I became left-handed, and I pulled a Glock out of my left hand, leaned forward, put my hand on the wall, drew down on Rick's back, 6 camera angles, 45 minutes worth of filming. And as I'm squeezing it off, a sword comes up through the center of my chest. I fall to the ground. The sword is put in my head, and Michonne pulls a gas mask off her head and shakes that curly lock. It was never used. They made a 1 hour
Ah.
episode. So all the shit we filmed wasn't used. So this is nothing unusual for me. I have fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I I I was shopping with my wife, Greg Nicodero, the showrunner, the executive producer, the guy that does all the special effects,
Hmm.
was in Bed Bath and Beyond, and I'm sitting on the phone, and my wife's looking at something, and Greg walks up and says, "Hi." I see you're back in town. He says, "Yeah, we're filming." Now, he didn't remember me specifically, but I spent 9 episodes on set with him, so he knew my little unique face. So it's fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It was a great time, and I have no regrets. I
So,
have no regrets.
so if Michonne wasn't the one to end your character, did you get to become a zombie at all?
No, I was never a zombie. I had a full beard, and they don't usually beard up zombies. Um, and I wasn't real
Yeah.
thin either.
Yeah, that's well. I mean, I don't know. You'd make such a good zombie, though. I feel like that's something that's sorely missed is the bearded zombie because I think the last one who actually had bearded zombies was probably like, what was that John Carpenter film in the early '80s, The Fog, with all the pirate ghosts?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pirate. Yeah, I want to play a pirate too.
Oh yeah,
I
you'd make
really
a
want to be
great
a
pirate.
pirate.
You'd make a great pirate.
That's another thing. If you're listening, I want to be a pirate.
Disney, if you're
Johnny Depp.
listening, get them on that. You got another Pirates of the Caribbean being shot.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. They
Nice.
actually they were going to make it a prequel with Zac Efron playing a young Captain Jack
Oh,
Sparrow, but now that dropped
okay.
off. So they actually are bringing back Johnny Depp, from what I heard. So that means that they are
Cool.
in script rewrites and probably completely redrafting it. So yeah, their pre-production was extended back. I want to say a few months, so plenty of time to try and get in there.
If you're listening, Johnny, I'm available.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, just kind of like veer back to Too Many Cooks. So I mean, I'm sure you've seen it a number of times, and everyone interprets it so many different ways. What's your interpretation on it? Like, what do you when you kind of re-experience it? You know, if you had to kind of take your subjective experience out of it, what do you see when you watch that movie or that short film, I should say?
See, uh, a a a comfort zone that you want to get into, but then all of a sudden your comfort zone becomes uncomfortable. Whether it's the Falcon going over and over,
Yeah.
whatever they find to make you comfortable, all of a sudden it's like I'm not comfortable anymore, and I see that through a lot, at least for me. Um, but the thing that I really like is we have been imitated so many times. There was a Progressive commercial called "Too Many Maids." I'm not the maid. Same set as Too Many Cooks with the stairway and the family, and yeah, I just love that. Yeah, and everybody carries something different from it. And if you ask Casper what he will say, what it really means, he'll smile and he'll say, "That's up to you."
Kind of like Quentin Tarantino with the what's in the suitcase in Pulp Fiction, right? It's whatever you
Yeah,
want it to
yeah,
be.
yeah. That's
Uh,
another one I'd love to work for, Tarantino.
oh yeah, Tarantino would be great. And well, I mean, so the rumor is that Tarantino's next movie is going to be his last one because he says he's only going to
I've,
do 3 films.
I've
But
heard that.
the thing he said is that he wants to be able to do all genres. So yeah, from what I understand, the rumor is that he wants his last film to be like a hard horror style movie. Now, I assume he
Ooh.
would. I assume he would. I don't know. He seems to be more influenced by like that, like Italian '70s horror with like lots of gore and stuff.
I just want to be the guy leaning in the corner in the background watching.
Yep. Maybe get one line in there so you can get those residuals.
Yes, but of course, those are lovely. I mean, unbelievable when I started. It's like, they're going to pay me? Nice. Yeah. Jumanji, the residuals have been more than what the original wage was.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that hasn't even hit like Netflix and that yet because I don't know. Well, I wonder how much are residuals as far as like a streaming service goes. Like, do they? With like a TV show, you get a residual for every time it's played on the network. But I mean, do you get a certain percentage like every click, or is it just like a monthly flat fee?
The way I explain it is, it's a voodoo formula that only the attorneys know. But I do know this much, that streaming platforms are not as lucrative as a DVD or repeating on a TV show. Like a TV show like Game of Thrones would play all their episodes over again in anticipation of the new season. Yeah,
Right.
there was some bucks there. The union knows it well too. So I mean, they're the ones that actually cut me the check.
Right. Well, and I think that's where like the voice acting has its own. Oh, that is awesome. Well, we are actually getting towards the end of our time here, so just wanted to go ahead and I don't know, just kind of ask you just a couple of finish up questions. What sort of
Sure.
projects do you have besides the project with Fox that you have not yet had the ability to audition for? Are there any other projects
Oh,
in?
I've auditioned for it and won the role. So
Oh,
it's just
okay,
a matter of
awesome. Oh well,
doing
then
it.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I thought
Thank
you were going up there to audition.
No, 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 no. Most auditions are taped auditions now. So I'm booked. I signed a contract for the first week's work.
Oh, beautiful.
Uh,
Well then,
yeah,
uh,
I've booked the role.
well then, is there any projects you have in post production that we can look forward to coming up in the coming months?
For you, there's a horror movie from Tyler Maine called Penance Lane, and I play a character called Crazy Ray. It should be out this year. It's been in post for a while, but they just made a new poster for it, so it should be out. Um, there is a Showtime project called The Good Lord Bird, and it's the story of John Brown's travels from Kansas to Harper's Ferry. It's a period piece. And in Kansas, a slave family dies, and he takes their young child. The young child is called Onion, and he is a boy that dresses as a girl, and the whole story is told from Onion's point of view.
Okay.
And I'm just a sleazy character in a brothel in episode 3, I believe. Um, Again, Irresistible will be out in May, where I'm a Democratic campaign worker. And I don't know. That's the only ones that come to the top of my head. But for anybody that's interested in me at all, what I would encourage them to do is go to my IMDb page and look at the images. The very first image on my IMDb page is a photo of me in a pink bra. You got to see it.
Oh, I'm going to be sure to give that a click. And then you're also on YouTube as well, correct?
I'm not a YouTuber. I have done a lot of things for different people that's on YouTube.
Okay.
Like I had people ask for to sing happy birthday to their kid, so I'll put it up on YouTube. But I've got some things on there. There's an excellent, probably the best work I ever did was a film called Five Windows. It's a short that was done in 2015. Two young film students, twin brothers. One went to Tisch NYU. The other one went to Chicago. Uh, um, 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 Forget the name. The big acting school in Chicago, or the big filmmaking school in Chicago.
Oh, Columbia.
And yes, that's it.
Yeah,
Columbia,
I was
thank
there
you.
for a semester.
And they went in high school to a post-secondary school that teaches filmmaking in Michigan. And the guy that owns it throws them the keys over the Christmas break, and they make films. And they made one with me called Five Windows. It's about 5 minutes long. It's a story of an assassin. And it won $10,000 at the AT&T Developers Summit for student filmmakers. So that's a lovely little film to go look at. It's as a filmmaker, it's textbook filmmaking. All right. As far as my acting goes, but yeah, it's a great little film.
Oh, awesome.
It's on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, then, folks, definitely check out William. And he seems to be pretty responsive on Facebook. Do you have any other website where folks can get in contact with you, or do you just prefer to have them go through the book?
I'm pretty much on Facebook. I do have an Instagram account that when I get stuck in Facebook jail, I'll go over there and post.
I'm always stuck in Facebook jail.
Yes. And I do not have the actors page, so I maintain personal contact with the people that I deal with. Try to wish everybody a happy birthday along the line.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I feel like that's something that's definitely missing in our society. It's like a personal touch, because, like, I don't know, like particularly with social media, like people just like they become, I don't want to say dehumanized, right? Like, you're not like,
Yes.
you're not like not recognizing their humanity, but they just become
a click.
Yeah, they become contextualized to that profile, and they really don't seem to, they don't really seem to be a real person. I feel like that's the big problem with people arguing online nowadays, is we fail to see that there is someone else on the other end of that keyboard. So the things that we say, post, we don't think that they may have an influence, but I mean, they really do.
I think my biggest creative outlet is trying to do a little humor on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not always successful, but since being handsome isn't an option for me, I decided to go with humor. Yeah.
So yeah, folks, definitely give William a follow on Instagram. Definitely check out his Facebook as well if you just want to say hi. And I'm just gonna leave you folks with my interpretation of Too Many Cooks, just from my years working in the mental health field from a pure psychological lens. And this is what we'll end on. Before I go ahead and give my little analysis, William, I want to thank you for spending this time with me.
My pleasure.
One of the things that I love to do is, talk with folks who have a genuine passion about what they're doing. I feel day to day people don't have an expressive outlet. They don't feel that, they can, be an actor in Hollywood, right? And you are a prime example that, you worked at GM for a lifetime, and then you decided, I'm going to do this. And you just went out and did it. And I feel if everyone else
Yeah.
just went out and did what they want to be interested in and decided to be more sincere and genuine with what they want, then they would feel a lot more appreciative in life.
I think you're correct.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. And, thanks again for being a part of Too Many Cooks, because it's one of those videos that if someone I know hasn't seen it, I definitely show it to them just to kind of, particularly if they're a new person, just to get the read on like what kind of a person they are, because, it's one of those things that if you can't find something that is enjoyable or interesting about that video, then, we probably don't have too much to talk about. Just to leave off with my interpretation of Too Many Cooks from a purely psychological lens, one of the theories related to nostalgia is known as terror management theory. We use nostalgia as a way to ward off feelings of our own mortality, because in this growing secular age, there is less of a focus on religion. And because of that, we substitute nostalgia, which allows us to relive these idealized memories of our past in order to feel better about our present situation. So looking at Too Many Cooks from a psychological lens, it subconsciously tells us that things won't be okay. Nothing is idealized, and the world is absurd and chaotic. So be there for each other, inspire each other, and support each other's vision, because we all want to express ourselves, and we need to help each other do that, because once again, too many cooks in the kitchen will ruin the broth. Good night, folks.
Good night.
It takes a lot to make a stew.
A pinch of salt and laughter too.
A scoop of kids to add the spice.
A dash of love to make it nice. And you've got
Too many cooks.
too many cooks.
Too many cooks. Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Takes a lot to make a stew.
When it comes to me and you,
And him and her and the baby too. Too many cooks, it's true.
they say it goes, it'll spoil the broth.
Honey, I think that's not true.
Well, maybe too many cooks will spoil the broth, but they'll fill our hearts with so much love. Too many cooks. A family is like a soup.
Everyone adds an extra scoop.
Mix an ounce of a smile so sweet.
A dash of cool to add the heat. And you've got
Too many cooks.
too many cooks.
Too many cooks.